one of America's teams, you could argue, the New England Patriots, and that's going to be the focus of this interview right here before Jerry Jones, who joins us live in 30 minutes on DFW Sports Station. And a cool treat on the Zoom right now, if you're listening on the Fan Cam, Twitch, and YouTube, because FX has a new series. I love when they do these series. American Sports Story, Aaron Hernandez. And we have the actor and the producer joining us, Josh Rivera and Stu Zicherman, on the D&M Leasing Hotline. Good morning, guys. We got you?
Hey, yeah. How you doing? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we got you, Josh. Stu, you good to go?
Yeah, good morning, guys.
All right, here's what I want to start off. So everyone is now judging Josh to be like, does that look like Aaron Hernandez? Stu, when you guys are trying to find a lookalike, how often does the lookalike not have the acting chops? And you're like, all right, we got to go to the second, the third looks option because the acting is not there. Not saying you don't look like Aaron Hernandez. I was just wondering, like, man, they got the perfect Magic Johnson lookalike for Showtime, the perfect Bird. Could they actually act? That's for you, Stu.
You know, we're not looking necessarily for a lookalike. You know, we're looking for somebody to embody the part, right? And I think that, you know, when you first start casting a part like this, you know, when you're writing something like this, you're trying to think, like, how am I going to ever find the right person, you know? And, but, you know, you have to sort of look like past, like, you know, size, or like some guy that's really dark, or some guy that's really like, looks like a killer. Because what really we needed for this part was somebody to embody the complexity of it. And when Josh walked in the room, you know, he just had an emotionality and a complexity that was so unique, and that this part needed. And what happens is he just begins to embody the part.
Josh, do you like being referred to as somebody who looks athletic enough, but also like a killer?
Hey, if it works for the job, I don't mind. You know what I mean?
Josh, how familiar were you with, how big of a sports fan are you? How familiar were you with Aaron Hernandez? And what was the part when you did all your research, you're like, holy crap, this is dark?
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as like sports in general, I played high school football. You know, I followed it for a little while.
Well,
obviously, I kind of went and started doing more theater-oriented stuff, and I started singing and dancing. So my connection to football waned just a little bit there. But it was cool to dust off the chops, you know, coming into the show. And I was a lineman and a linebacker when I was playing. So I'd never had to catch a football in my life. I've got lineman hands. So they taught me how to do all that stuff. But as far as what I knew about the story, just about as much as anybody else, right? Like, I knew there was a guy in the NFL. I knew he got convicted of murder. And as far as I thought about it, I was like, man, that's wild, you know, but I didn't really dive into it too much until the audition process came around. And I listened to the podcast that was that the show's based on, and I watched the Netflix documentary. And I think the thing that really stuck out to me was, you know, in hindsight, we have this lens of like, oh man, what a horrible thing to happen. But then by a lot of accounts, this dude was a really good guy, and he was really funny and like good humored and very charismatic, which was the very shocking thing for a lot of people. And I guess just like how layered the entire thing is and how many components go into it. The more that I investigated it, the more fascinating the whole thing was to me.
Stu, who did you guys talk to and consult, whether with the Patriots and the NFL, in order to try to get this to be accurate?
You know, the Spotlight team at the Boston Globe, who are these incredible reporters, right? Like, they had done such a thorough job in reporting this story that they were sort of our main resource. I mean, you know, we read a lot, you know, but we didn't talk to the families. We didn't talk to, you know, the league or anything like that. We just tried to sort of go off the research, you know, and the reporting, and because there was so much there.
Did you guys, like, looking back and when you went towards, you know, his childhood and stuff, did you find that this went back even earlier, a lot of his troubles, even earlier than a lot of us think, like even before high school, that was kind of disturbing? Or did it just start then?
Yeah, I think it's more a case of, we tend to one-dimensionalize stories like this, right? Like Hernandez is a killer, right? Or he's a monster or whatever it is. And the truth is, like, no one's born a monster. You're not born a killer. And I think that for us, like looking back as far back as his childhood, there were a lot of things that happened. He was a really happy-go-lucky kid and by all accounts, a great kid, but things happened to him. He lost his father in high school. He dealt with sort of, physical and emotional abuse. He was struggling with his identity and in a world where he was not allowed to struggle with his identity. So I think there were a lot of things that sort of like made his life more complicated. But the real warning signs, like that there were, possible character things that people should look out for, didn't really come out till college.
Got Josh Rivera and Stu Zicherman here. They are part of FX's American Sports Story. Aaron Hernandez. Question for you here, Josh. A lot of people may know you from doing West Side Story, for instance, a little bit ago. And when you look at like the way you approach a role of you're trying to do a remake versus do a true to life story, was it a similar process in terms of trying to honor the truth of it, but also put a certain inflection on it of your own and your own perspective?
There was a lot about it that I found quite different. I mean, what's really nice about working on something that's fiction is you can invent something from scratch. But the reality is, I can't pretend that there's not an existing perspective on who this person is and what this story is. So basically, my job is to invent something that's compatible with that rather than a carbon copy, but create some sort of essence of it that is compatible with people's existing perception of it, if that makes any sense, which was a challenge, but I feel like we did all right. I hope people like it.
So there's like no method acting here?
Well, I was going to say
no method acting. Yeah. No.
It's important not to do a caricature, right? And I think that's when we talk about, like, we don't want to do caricatures of any of these characters. We want to create them like this is a TV show. It's meant to entertain people. And all the actors, we gave them the license to sort of, take what we've written and embody the part in a way that they could bring it to life.
Did you guys reach out to teammates, Belichick, Kraft, the Patriots? How did that go?
No, I mean, I think we had enough information to go on, and it just didn't seem like we wanted to color our, perspective by talking to anyone that was actually involved. So no, we pretty much just based everything off the research.
I'm curious, when you guys talk about Stu, you just mentioned there that at the end of the day, you're creating entertainment. What's that balance, though, in the creation process where you're saying, hey, we're trying to create something that's entertaining, but it's also really dark subject matter where we're trying not to necessarily make people so uncomfortable that they turn it off?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. I think you set out trying to strike that balance, right? And illuminate the audience about things in the story that they just don't know and didn't know, And again, like, this is a dark story as we know it, but there's a lot of great moments that aren't dark. In Aaron's life and in his history, there's a lot of great moments of wish fulfillment too. Like he became a star. He became a star in college, became a star in the pros. He got a $40 million contract. Like, there were great moments, and we can play into those moments too. But the most important thing is, and I think we've struck a good balance here. We never forgive him for what he's done. Like Hernandez is a killer. He ruined people's lives and families' lives, and we never forgive him for that. But we also shine a light on the rest of it, and we sort of indict some of the people and institutions that also have a bit of culpability in this story as well.
Is this a story that is so detailed and complex that it had to be like a 10-part series and you couldn't fit it all into a movie and do it justice?
Yeah, I mean, originally we were given 8. And I remember we basically broke and wrote, parts of 8 episodes. And at a certain point, the producers were like, we just can't get all of it in, and we ended up re-breaking it into 10. There's a lot here. And I think that the audience is going to be really, really surprised by, how deep we go into the story and to the corners of the story that we go into. We do an entire episode from the women left behind. It's not all just about Aaron.
Guys, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. Josh Rivera, Aaron Hernandez, Stu Zicherman, producer, American Sports Story, September 17th on FX. Thank you. We can't wait to see it. Enjoy your day.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you for having us.